Okay, very good. I'm calling back to order the April 20th, 2020 special meeting of the CRA. And if I could find, oh, here we go. And I think we were at item 7, is that correct?
Correct.
Item 7, resolution number 20-29, approving the creation of the Emergency Small Business Relief Grant Program for the Downtown/City Center CRA and the Northwood/Pleasant City CRA. Ms. Justice?
Yes, Mayor. This again is some support for local businesses during the COVID crisis. We have developed a program for both downtown and Northwood Pleasant City. I have just a couple of slides that I'll share with you here. And just so you can see the details of the program. I won't. Yeah. All right. So this Emergency Small Business Relief Program, this is a temporary grant program, again, just during this time, provides grants of $1,500. The requirement is that a business must be located in either downtown city center or Northwood Pleasant City. Small businesses under 10 employees, and they must have applied for one of the following programs, either the SBA loans, Paycheck Protection, the City of West Palm Beach Small Business Loan, or other state or federal emergency programs. This is just to verify that these businesses are out there and taking advantage of the resources that are out there right now. They don't have to have received the loan at this point, just applied.
Ms. Justice, can you make that full screen, please?
I can. There we go.
Thank you.
So these are the requirements. And then the next slide is just the application procedures. We're trying to make this as simple as possible, but also obviously we need to get as much, we need to be able to back up again for the CRA what we need for our processes. So we have an application for them to fill out. They'll be able to do this in email the application, a proof of the application to another relief program. They'll have a W-9, their W-9, an invoice that they can fill out for the $1,500, and for faster payment, an ACH form to us. We'd also like to see receipts of payment of either rent, utilities, payroll, or other essential items for their business activity. And again, this just shows that these payments are going towards the essential running of their business. And again, that outlines the program, the requirements, and what they need to do to apply. And
very good.
Total amount, I forgot, the total amount is $30,000 per district. It will service 20 businesses downtown and 20 businesses in Northwood Pleasant City. We'll reevaluate once we start this program how it's going and come back if need be.
Very good. Thank you. Commissioner Nearing, you had questions.
Thank you, Mayor, and thanks, Ms. Justice, for this presentation. Totally supportive of it. The only request that I would have, Mayor and fellow commissioners, is if we could increase the grant amount beyond the $1,500, understanding that it would be a case-by-case situation, given that you would have had to apply for other resources, given the number of businesses in those areas. I think limiting it to $1,500 out the gate is a de minimis amount, in my opinion. I'd like to see if we would entertain increasing that amount, or if Ms. Justice, based on the due diligence, that you can maybe talk about why we settled on $1,500.
I can tell you from the creating of the grant, we went by what other CRAs are doing across the state. we've modeled a couple different programs. It was kind of a hybrid of a couple different programs. The programs we found were the quick relief programs were $1,000, $1,000 to $2,000 for the quick relief program. There are other programs that CRAs are creating for after the immediate crisis that could be a little bit more, but again, they have some different requirements. So, with the $30,000 for each district, again, getting at least 20 businesses the grant, that's why we settled on that amount. But we're willing to, I mean, if the board decides otherwise, then.
Follow up, yes.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'm sorry, I can't type quick enough. Thank you. Yeah, I would be in major support of increasing this number. I understand it's a finite amount of money, so I get that. But given that we were already talking about coming back to this board, perhaps for additional dollars, I just think the discretion out the box should be more dollars initially. Again, assuming that not every business will receive that amount. It'll vary, but I just think $1,500 for West Palm Beach, and I appreciate that we've looked at other CRAs. It just seems like a de minimis amount. Again, I want to preface that by saying I totally understand we have a finite amount of money that we're working with, and we don't have endless resources. So I totally get that. But that's just my suggestion. I'll stop there, Mayor. Thanks.
Madam President, you had a question.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Commissioner Nearing, for bringing that up. I think it's a really good point. And I know, Ms. Justice, you looked at other programs, and I appreciate that as well. I think the key to that is the range and looking to see where the need is, because we do have a finite amount of resources. But further to that, as we look to the CRA and around other programs that we have, I think one of the things that we have to start to look at is looking at our need to haves and our want to haves. And I don't know if by way of this motion, this board can give an up to amount where if there is another $20,000, $30,000, Ms. Justice, it's in a budget that we could approve the $30,000 and then up to a certain other amount within this too, to identify some other resources. Happy for any support we have for our small businesses at the $1,500. I know we're going to help 20 businesses within each CRA district. And I would think that the need is much greater than that. If we can help individual businesses to get over this initial period of being down, to help them survive to the other side, I think that is the main goal. So I guess I would be in agreement with Commissioner Nearing, but also seek additional funds, looking at this from the COVID economic recovery side and looking at the loans that we've distributed on that side. We're trying to layer up as much support as we can possibly muster, but these things are so important, as we've seen from the federal level, and still lobbying up to that federal level to try to get more CARES dollars for our businesses. The municipal government is going to make it or break it for some of these businesses as to whether or not they can weather this storm. So to the extent that we could identify additional dollars, I would be in support of that as well.
Let's get this one rolled out first. And if we could get money into a broad array of businesses, and at the same time as Justice, if you could, based upon the performance here, see if you could identify some other buckets of money. Keep in mind that we as the CRA can't be the savior. We can help, but our resources are limited. And again, this isn't something that we have budgeted for, because we didn't know it was coming down the pipe. But I'd like to at least see it get out the gate first. And $1,500 doesn't sound like much, but I think it's spread across a number of businesses. Commissioner Lambert, you had a question.
Thank you, Mayor. My questions were very similar to my colleagues. Ms. Justice, I was going to ask a little bit more detail about how the $1,500 was determined. And when you started talking about the other programs that you looked at, you mentioned that, if I recall correctly, that you looked at other CRAs and that they have quick relief programs. And then I think you mentioned some other programs, maybe some longer term programs after or as we're getting through COVID. So did that go into the decision-making process for selecting the 1,500? And I wasn't sure if there was a longer range plan that we should be aware of while considering this.
Yeah, that definitely went into the process. This is supposed to be a quick hit. Once we get over, again, a certain amount for each business of support, we have definitely more requirements that we need to get from each business to protect public funds. We also, we felt like, again, it may be 1 month's rent, it may be some utility payments. It was that quick while we're in this state of emergency benefit. And again, why we didn't expend, all CRA resources for it, because we do understand that longer term, after the immediate emergency is done, we're going to have to look at programs. I don't have anything set in stone yet, but yes, we are looking at different programs of what we can come back with.
And Mayor, if I may follow up.
Yes.
Ms. Justice, anybody who's applying, will they automatically qualify for the 1,500 or the full amount, or will it need to be determined? And the reason I'm asking that is because I am in favor of what our previous commissioner spoke about, which is possibly increasing this amount. But I don't want to create more work if the whole idea was, hey, these would be quick. Anybody who applied and who met the requirements, they would automatically be qualified for the full amount. Where if we up the amount, let's say we kept it at the same 30,000 per each district, but yet we said, oh, maybe they could qualify for up to 2,500. Would that create more work and then slow down the process? Because I don't think any of us want to slow down the process in getting these funds to the businesses that need them.
It wouldn't be more work if this board decided they wanted to increase to 2,000 or 2,500. It would just mean less grants.
Yeah, less businesses. Remember, these are grants and not loans. And there's a lot of need out there in terms of the quantity of businesses. So my thinking is that we could get some money into as many businesses as possible. That would certainly go a long way toward helping. Commissioner Fox.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Allison. I wanted to just ask, I don't know if I missed it, how would you determine who's selected it? Was it a first come, first space? I mean, it seems like we would run out very quickly, and I agree with our other commissioners that this might not be nearly enough, but I was also wondering then, in that point, is there any criteria of what the money can be used for? Do they have to submit on their application anywhere that they need to, pay for their employee salaries, or, the rent, or, whatever it might be? Because I do think that some small businesses, the need is different. They might have one employee, or they might have 10, or they might have, overhead that needs to be paid for. Others might, be having something that's a smaller business that's, out of their home or something. So I'm just curious about what the criteria would be.
Yeah, the criteria, again, is just proof that they are applying for other support and other programs to keep themselves in business, and providing us receipts with business receipts. So maybe their rent payment, it could be a payroll, it could be we want to make it obviously as less cumbersome as possible, but make sure that these businesses are continuing to pay their rent and keep their utilities on as well.
And that was first come, first serve, did you say?
And that is first come, first serve. I don't disagree that it's not enough. I think we have to look at what is left in the budget and what we can, again, if we come back for an additional, some additional funding to look at it again, and what can be put in the budget for that. Because we may have to do some transfers of funding, because as the mayor mentioned, it's not all in the budget.
Commissioner Peduzzi.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with my colleagues that we should be providing as much help as the city can do. But at the same time, I agree with you, Mayor, that we're not going to fix this problem ourselves. We need to make sure that we encourage our businesses to continue seeking funding from the other sources available. I know that they have to have applied for at least one of the other programs. And my understanding is that Congress may be refunding the Paycheck Assistance Program very soon, in the next day or two, hopefully. That's certainly a program that provides much more significant funds. I mean, up to multiple of millions of dollars to cover payrolls and the like. So I think it's important that we just encourage them to seek all the funding that's out there, because we can't fix this problem ourselves. But I'm all for putting more money into it.
Commissioner Nearing.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I you know, in terms of the businesses having to have applied for at least, you know, one of the following, and then we list out, I have to tell you, I have little faith that even on the second go around, that the businesses that we're talking about are going to have an opportunity to have a seat at the table. But that's here nor there. I agree, and of course I'm not going to hold this up, and I agree getting it out is most important. I still think that we should really take into consideration increasing the amount. And again, I think that's where, and I think Commissioner Fox alluded to it, I think that's where, you know, businesses, to me, instead of this kind of flat, here's the $1,500, here's what you should receive, I think it's contingent on the business. It's contingent on the needs of the business. And maybe that's where the extra work comes in. And so again, I don't know. I've read the backup, but I haven't been a part of forming this. So again, I'm not going to do anything to hold it up. But I do want to go on the record that I'd like to see us at least at minimum look at $2,500 at minimum. But if we can't, and that's not the consensus, I'm totally ready to support moving this forward.
Madam President.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to give some insight, because looking at economic recovery, I can't tell you how many webinars I have sat in on the federal program and how many discussions I've had with our local businesses, faces that everyone here knows and sees walking down Clematis Street, walking in the Northwest, going down Northwood Road. And one in particular, and I think this just shows some insight, Congresswoman Frankel hosted and talked to our business owners about how the CARES program was assisting them. And one of the main things that came out of that was that the Paycheck Protection Act is so that you can keep your employees on staff. A lot of our businesses for the past month could not keep their employees on staff. Those employees are now applying for unemployment. And so Paycheck Protection and the forgivable portion, you know, you can still use Paycheck Protection to pay rent and some other expenses, but there's a number of things that go into it. And everything that I have worked with staff on points to the fact that, you know, while municipal government isn't going to, of course, be able to in any way, shape, or form fund this entire recovery, we are able to give access to our businesses and able to get them resources quicker. So I will certainly support this today to move forward. I think I asked that the consideration be there that if we could even put up to 2,500, and that way, if someone applies and says, I'll take the quick 1,500 because I've put in my application, I've met the qualifications, but if someone has a need, I would just like to have the flexibility to not have to say a hard no for for a business that we know just needs to get up over that hill. So I leave that out there as food for thought, but I would like to see the amount. I think obviously 2,500 isn't going to cover a lot of things either, but I think it's a bigger bite to perhaps get up over, even some of the rents are up over that, you know, and rent, overhead, electrical, everything in. So I guess if we could use a standard and then have an up to amount, I certainly would support that. If we're moving forward as is, I would not stand in the way of moving forward. Our businesses need our help.
All right. I don't see any other hands up, so I will entertain a motion.
So, Mayor, can I clarify one thing? Because new, but if we wanted to amend this, as President Schoaf was just mentioning, is that something that we would do in a motion, or would?
Yeah, you would make the motion to reflect what it is you wanted to see. So
Mayor?
if you wanted to approve this item with the amendment that it, whatever language you, Madam President, wanted, then that's what you should do.
Mayor, if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to make a motion.
Okay, that's fine.
I move that we approve resolution 20-29 with the amended increased amount of up to $2,500 per business.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, call the roll, please.
Mayor James,
Aye.
President Schoaf,
Yay.
Commissioner Lambert,
Yay.
Commissioner Fox,
Yay.
Commissioner Neering,
Yay.
Commissioner Paduzzi,
Yay.
motion passes unanimously.
Although it's a little bit late, so this clarification. So we're not changing the full amount, the 30,000. We're only changing the up to.
Right.
Right? Up to 2,500.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So the only change was the up to amount.
Right.
All right, Ms. Justice, you got that?
Understood. Thank you.
Okay. Item 8. Resolution number 20-30, authorizing waiver of rent payments for the 8 tenants at Lot 23 for the months of May and June 2020 due to economic impacts of COVID-19 pandemic. And I know, Ms. Justice, you said there was some changes. So is that just in
We
the
did. We
backup
would-
or is that in the resolution itself?
It's in the resolution itself to add 907 7th Street. This is a waiver of 2 months for 907 7th Street. There is a tenant
So
there as well.
608 and 610 23rd Street and then 907 7th Street?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Anything else you want to make in your presentation on this item?
No, these are the Lot 23 properties. And also we have a property in the historic Northwest with a tenant in it as well. All have undergone some financial hardships since COVID started, and we are asking to waive their rents for the month of May and June.
Okay. Commissioners, Madam President.
Thank you. And I want to say thank you to staff for bringing this item forward. This fits exactly in with the eviction protection that the city is doing on the other side. And I think it shows really great leadership for us to take from a place where we start on properties that we own to do 2 months forgivable rent and really support our local art community who, as per my last background, now I'm in Osprey Park. But for the last background that I had, they do a lot of really great things in our community and really have a great program there. So I think that leadership starts with us and certainly supportive of moving this forward today.
Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion. You're muted, Madam President. You're muted.
Now I'm unmuted. Mayor, move approval of resolution number 20-30.
Do you want to
Second.
talk about the amendment?
Do I need to put the amendment in the motion?
Yeah, because
Yes.
the resolution doesn't cover it, so.
Ms. Justice, can you give me the address again? I'm sorry.
907 7th Street.
Okay, I move approval of resolution number 20-30 with the addition of 907 7th Street.
Second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion, further discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, can you call roll?
Mayor James,
Aye.
President Schoaf,
Yay.
Commissioner Lambert,
Yay.
Commissioner Fox,
Yay.
Commissioner Neering,
Yay.
Commissioner Paduzzi,
Yay.
motion passes unanimously.
Okay, very good. And seeing no further items on the agenda, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.